There's Trixie and Twilight. I can never seem to get them right, apparently. Twilight gave Trixie a reassuring look. Trixie, Rarity is the element of generosity, remember? It's what she does. Rarity nodded, uh, giving a smile. Quite right, she stated. That is if I may do you this service. Trixie, I'm not pitying you. Pink just clashes horribly with your coat. It isn't your color at all. And I am a fashionista after all. It is my duty to make ponies look fabulous. Trixie hesitated. She tried everything she knew. Was it wrong to let some pony whose job was fashion, to do a job that was theirs to do? And she'd rather not walk around Ponyville with pink hair if she could help it? That, and if Rarity was going to take revenge, she might as well get it over with, while her hair was a mess anyway. All right, you may try, Trixie supposes, she said, closing her eyes. She felt the telltale feeling of magic rippling through her mane until she carefully opened her eyes and looked in a mirror, fully expecting to find the same messy green disasters she made Rarity's. Instead, finding her mane and tail not only their proper color, in fact, she wasn't mistaken, it looked better than ever. Trixie looked at Rarity in complete shock. You, you actually did it. Of course, why ever would I not? Asked Rarity, giving a genuinely confused look. Why, why not? Asked Trixie, completely shocked. I called your mane a rat's nest, goaded you into a rigged contest, turned your hair into a disgusting green mess, humiliated you in front of the entire town, and then bragged about doing it. Before that, I publicly humiliated two of your best friends, which you also bragged about, added Spike simply, looking through a pile of discarded gems Rarity set aside for him. She normally let him have the gems that she couldn't make use of herself. Exactly. Yes, you did do all that, said Rarity, giving a small glare, which then turned into a small smile. But I would never willingly defile another mare's mane, especially not that of a friend. Trixie's eyes went wide in shock. For friend? Rarity nodded sincerely. No hint of falsehood anywhere. You're a friend of Twilight's, I think that much is clear. No matter what you did to me, I trust her judgment. If she's chosen to trust you as her friend, then I see no reason I shouldn't as well. Besides, circumstances have punished you far more than what you deserve. Doing anything more to you now would be cruel. I think we should just let bygones be bygones. Here you go, sis, called Sweetie Belle, stampeding into the room and tripping, sending her sister's glasses failing into the air, which were thankfully caught telekinetically by the older unicorn. Thank you, Sweetie Belle, said Rarity, hurrying over and helping her little sister up. Now do please try to keep out of the way. I know you mean well, but sometimes too many cooks spoil the broth. Sweetie Belle blinked in confusion. I thought you were making dresses. It was an expression. It means having too many ponies working on one thing, even if they're all good at it, can cause it to turn out badly, explained Rarity, trying to be gentle with her baby sister, even if Sweetie Belle tended to cause more harm than good in the boutique. She didn't want to outright tell her she couldn't help because of it, and Trixie needs this job. You understand. Plus, I'm trying to get finished early to spend time with you later. Sweetie Belle gave an understanding nod, though looked a little disappointed. I understand, sis. Trixie looked at Twilight in surprise. Twilight, you consider me or Trixie your friend? Twilight nodded sincerely, giving a warm smile to the unicorn. Yes, Trixie, I do. I admit it. I wouldn't have been the first one to say it a few days ago, but now I've actually gotten to know you, I honestly consider you a friend, especially after you helped me last night. Trixie looked conflicted and uncertain as Twilight said that. Desperate to change the subject to something less awkward, she looked to Sweetie Belle. Trixie didn't know Rarity had a little sister. Twilight nodded, allowing Trixie to change the subject. She doesn't live here, but she visits a lot. Her name's Sweetie Belle. Trixie watched Rarity nuzzle her little sister and vice versa. They looked very happy together. Trixie's ears lowered in sadness as she watched the happy siblings. She shook it off as best as she could. She walked over. Rarity, what job should Trixie do? Rarity turned and looked to Trixie. It's quite simple, she said, showing her to a sewing machine. Simply stitch these patches onto these dresses. Dresses, she explained, sewing patches with symbols on them and a number of very beautiful dresses, each decorated with gems of all types, as was Rarity's style. One was essentially covered in sapphires. They're labeled by names, and the dresses have an outline where the patches go. So if you pay attention, nothing should go wrong, she explained, having been extra careful to make sure nothing went amiss. She'd normally only do work herself, but in this case, she'd make an exception. I need to get this work done quickly. I have a client coming to pick up their dress later today. Then I have to help Applejack prepare for a very important fair in Canterlot. Afterwards, so I can make afterwards so I can take Sweetie Belle and her friends on a camping trip, she said, giving her little sister a smile. Camping? Asked Trixie, surprise clear in her face that isn't a little dirty for your tastes. Isn't that a little dirty for your tastes? Last time Trixie saw you, you ran up for the hills having your hair a little messed up. It is a tad unclean, and I don't particularly enjoy getting dirty, admitted Rarity, before looking to her sister, but my sisters matter more to me than getting my hooves a little muddy. Sweetie Belle nodded, smiling up at her big sister. Rarity and I do stuff like this all the time. Well, ever since the Sister Hoof Social. Twilight saw Trixie's confusion at mention of the social. It's a yearly competition between teams of sisters at Sweet Apple Acres. Sweetie Belle and Rarity come in second last time. Is something wrong? She asked, noticing Trixie looking rather upset and distant at the mention. Oh, nothing. Nothing's wrong. Trixie was simply lost in thought. Again, said Trixie, shaking it off. Wait, I thought you were Trixie, stated a rather confused Sweetie Belle. That's right, said Trixie, looking back at the confused filly with the raised eyebrow, and I'm sorry if this is a little louder than normal, because I actually have the thing pressed up against my mouth a little bit than I should have. That's right, said Trixie, looking back at a confused filly with a raised eyebrow. Then why do you keep talking about yourself like you're another person? Asked Sweetie Belle with a raised eyebrow of her own. Trixie wasn't sure she was mimicking her or just equally as confused. Sorry about that. Trixie speaks in third person, Sweetie Belle, explained Rarity, looking to her third sister, her little sister. That just caused Sweetie Belle to look even more confused. But there's only one of her. Rarity gave a sigh, but understood her little sister was still a filly. Third person means she talks about herself like she's a different person. Like how when Princess Luna was here, she called herself we instead of I. It's just a specific manner of speaking. Oh, said Sweetie Belle before giving a small smile. Okay, I think I get it. That's actually kind of cool, she exclaimed, much to Trixie's visible surprise. Rarity then turned to Trixie. Shall we get to work? She asked, heading over to the sewing machine and getting to work, floating her sewing glasses onto her face. Trixie went over to, and her jaw dropped when she saw the names listed. Sapphire Shores, Hoity Toity, Spitfire, Octavia, she exclaimed in utter disbelief. You, you're making dresses for all these famous ponies? Rarity gave a slightly prideful nod. Yes, I get quite a few famous clients here. Though Hoity Toity ordered designs in bulk for his new fashion line, second year in a row. So he's got quite a few. And Sapphire Shores is a regular customer. That's why I always keep a big supply of sapphires around. I must also admit that I was recommended by Octavia by Pinkie Pie of all ponies. I didn't even know the two knew one another. She's also a personal friend of Fancy Pants, bragged Spike, standing as close to Rarity as he possibly could. Rarity didn't mind either actions. Fancy Pants? The Fancy Pants? Asked Trixie, jaw dropping almost to the floor. Well, personal friend may be a tad strong, but I do know him quite well, said Rarity, smiling lightly at Spike. But be that as it may, we have work to do, Trixie, she stated before Spike's bragging gave the poor mare a stroke, as much as Rarity enjoyed it. Trixie shook off her shock. Of course, she said, going to the sewing machine and getting to work. Trixie actually did fairly well at the work, much to Spike's surprise. You know how to sew? asked Spike, or he asked, watching her work the sewing machines. Trixie nodded slightly. Yes, it's a useful skill for some pony who lives on the road to know. Trixie didn't have time to stop at a tailor every time a curtain or her clothing became torn or ripped, so it paid to have such a talent. Spike nodded. Well, you're good at it. Trixie smiled proudly as she finished sewing another patch on. She set the dress back on its model so it wouldn't wrinkle. Thank you. Trixie takes pride in her work. Well, you're doing pretty good at this time, said Spike, though naturally having Rarity endorse Trixie had a rather sizable say in his own opinion. Where'd you learn? Grandmother taught Trixie, explained the unicorn mare as she continued to work. It was one of those things Trixie had no interest in at the time, but she said would come in handy, and it most certainly has. Spike gave a small nod. Yeah, so you learn a lot from your grandmother? Or your grandma? Trixie gave a true smile, as true a one Spike had seen her give, to be honest. Yes, Trixie did, she said, continuing to work. She heard the same biting words clawing their way into her head, but this time she felt her mind becoming conflicted and decided to change her train of thought ASAP. Why has your opinion of Trixie changed so much, Spike? Spike blinked in surprise. No reason. Just thought I'd give you a chance is all. Does this have anything to do with the fact a certain mayor has accepted Trixie? Trixie teased. She'd seen how the little dragon behaved around Rarity, hung on her every word as if they came from Celestia herself. Spike looked shyly and blushed. Well, maybe just a little, he said, getting a little chuckle from Trixie. Row, Rarity, your new line is beautiful, said Twilight, who was now browsing through all dresses laid out. Rarity smiled, continuing her work. Thank you, Twilight. I've worked very hard on them. All. All that's left is to sew these patches on, she said, concentrating more on her work than anything else, until the thread ran out completely. Oh, out of thread, she said, trotting out of the room to get more. Well, I'm sure your clients will love them, replied Twilight, looking them over carefully as Rarity left the room. Twilight didn't notice. My six, my big sister always makes great dresses, said Sweetie Belle, smiling from ear to ear with pride. Twilight smiled down at the little filly. She sure does, she said, happy to see Sweetie Belle brag about her sister. So, how are you and the other Cutie Mark Crusaders doing, my little pony? We're good. We have a lot of fun, said Sweetie Belle, smiling widely. Yesterday we tried being Cutie Mark Crusader tennis players. Really? How'd that go? Spike looked over and noticed Trixie's long hair was resting on the very dress she was sewing. The mare hadn't had a mane cut in quite some time, and her hair had grown out a fair bit. Trixie, you may want to. You can relax, Spike. Trixie knows what she's doing, replied the unicorn, continuing as she was. But Trixie doesn't need any help. She can handle this, replied Trixie, getting a little angry. She switched to the next dress, one with a checkerboard motif, with the theme being rather regal. She began to sew as normal until she noticed the name on the dress tag. Eyes going wide and a chill going down her spines. Her? No. It can't be, she thought, then read the name again, her heart racing in terror. It is her. She seemed to just freeze up, staring at the tag in fear. Spike blinked. Trixie? He asked, not getting a reaction. Trixie? He asked, putting his hand on her side, a tad concerned. Trixie screamed in surprise, pushing the dress forward sharply, and let out another scream as her mane got caught up in the sewing machine. Spike cringed and covered his eyes. I tried to warn ya. Trixie struggled, trying to pull her mane out of the machine, only succeeding in making the situation worse. Bleh, I lost my. place here for a second. Spike grabbed her tail and tried to help her pull her mane out of the device. So we had a lot of fun, even if we can't never go back to the tennis court again, finished Sweetie Belle with a smile to a rather confused Twilight. She then heard the ruckus from Trixie's accident and looked over. What's going on? Huh? Twilight asked, looking in direction of the noise. She then saw Trixie's plight. Trixie! She yelled and ran over to her. Twilight grabbed Trixie and pulled, trying to help her dislodge her mane and with Spike's help. Trixie's tangled mane finally gave way, causing her to stagger backwards and hit Twilight in the face with her hoof. Twilight was sent backpedaling and right through a window with a scream, while Trixie continued backwards into a shelf, knocking it over into a bunch of mannequins, which knocked one another over like dominoes, setting off further chaos in the process. Rarity walked back into the room as though resulting disaster ended. Rarity gave a gasp, looking around the ruined room in shock. What happened? She asked in surprise, and with a slight eye twitch, her eyes fell on Sweetie Belle with a slight glare. Sweetie Belle blinked in confusion before realizing what was going on, glaring in return. Hey, it wasn't me this time, she exclaimed, her and Rarity jumping as the sewing machine burst into flames. Ugh. Oh, forgive me, guys. Ugh. Oh, this really is a long chapter. Anyway, Trixie looked down guiltily as Rarity fixed up her hair. The room's still a disaster. Rarity, is Twilight alright? She asked, honest concern in her voice. Rarity nodded lightly, working on getting the tangles out and cutting some split ends. She will be. Don't worry. She's just got a few scrapes and bruises. She's had worse. She's just going to the hospital to get checked out and make sure. Trixie nodded but looked almost sick to her stomach with guilt. Looks like Trixie messed up again, she said with a miserable sigh, leaning forward and letting her forehead slam into the wall, not moving otherwise. Oh, it's nothing, darling. Sweetie Belle has made bigger messes, and I really need to stop setting up my shop in such a way that one little thing toppling over somehow sets off a chain reaction that wrecks the entire room, said Rarity, trying to choose her words carefully. She knew Trixie didn't mean to do this. It was an accident and nothing more. But she could practically feel the mare's guilt, something she never thought she'd see from Trixie of all ponies. From the conflicted look on her face, Rarity doubted that the blue unicorn expected it from herself either. Besides, you did get a quarter of the dresses done, which is still a help. The sewing machine burst into flames, Trixie said in a completely deadpan voice, not moving her head from its spot resting against the wall. Oh, fat. Don't worry. I've got another one, and it was just because your mane clogged up the machinery, I think, said Rarity, looking at the burnt up machine and then the burnt dress, which she now have to remake. But it doesn't mean you can't do anything more today, I suppose. But it does mean you can't do anything more today, I suppose. But I shall pay you for your work you already did. I cannot blame you for an accident. A knock came on the door, prompting Rarity to give a growl. Oh, what now? She asked, opening the door, only for an orange and yellow streak to fly by her. Hey, Rarity! The two excited fillies as they flew past the mare. I would have done a double voice impression, well, as much as I can anyway, even though my impressions aren't really going along with the characters now, but I would have at least tried. But yeah, yelled the two excited fillies as they flew past the mare. Oh, hello, girls, said Rarity, getting a little nervous. Hey, Sweetie Belle! Exclaimed Scootaloo and Applebloom, skidding to a stop in front of Sweetie Belle. Hey, Applebloom. Hey, Hey, Applebloom. Hey, Scootaloo, yelled Sweetie Belle, smiling widely. Scootaloo looked around the place. Wow, it looks like a tornado tore through here. Or an earthquake, said Applebloom, likewise, looking around. Or a tornado and an earthquake. Both fillies then gave Sweetie Belle a look. She gave a glare back, It wasn't me this time. Why does every pony automatically assume I was the one who wrecked Rarity's shop? Excuse me. I wonder why, Sweetie Belle. Anyway, the two simply gave her a raised eyebrow. Sweetie Belle got a sheepish look in response. Oh, yeah. But how was I supposed to know what the red button did? It was a wrecking ball. What else was it supposed to do? Asked Scootaloo with a small glare. Or what else was it supposed to do? Asked Scootaloo with a small glare. I didn't know we were in one. We were supposed to be Cutie Mark Crusaders basket weavers. And how that turned out, I do not want to know really. But how we went from a wrecking ball to basket weaving to probably back to the wrecking ball, I didn't even know how they even got in one. We were supposed to be Cutie Mark Crusader basket weavers, replied Sweetie Belle with the glare of her own. Not Cutie Mark Crusaders demolition ponies. Apple Bloom blinked, giving a perplexed look. Yeah, now, she's got a good point. How did we end up in that thing anyway? Scootaloo was about to respond but blinked, rubbing her head in confusion. I don't know. Well, you got bored and said basket weaving was dumb. That then there was that bird, said Apple Bloom, cringing at that part along with the other two. Fluttershy wasn't too happy about that, reminded Sweetie Belle in a sheepish tone. Yeah, I was afraid she used the stare on us, muttered Scootaloo with a nod. And I don't even know what that one ended up with us covered in tree sap. At least it wasn't also with pine needles as well. Just remember that, you three. And said Apple Bloom, rubbing her head in confusion. Scootaloo nodded. Ever noticed that a surprising amount of our cutie marks attempt us with covered in tree sap and pine needles? Don't forget that. Sweetie Belle nodded, equally as confused. Yeah, but it really wasn't me this time. Trixie sighed miserably, finally moving her head from the wall to look at them. Trixie is afraid it was her fault. Should have known it was you, said Scootaloo, glaring daggers at the mare. See, Apple Bloom? I told you so. I guess you were right about her being trouble, Scootaloo, replied Apple Bloom, likewise glaring at her. Wait, Apple Bloom? Asked Trixie, blinking in confusion. She then cringed in realization. Let Trixie guess. You're related to Applejack. Yep, I'm her little sister. And you're still mad at Trixie for publicly humiliating her? Yep, that's about right. Trixie gave a sigh. Of course. Hey, don't worry about her, interrupted Sweetie Belle, trying to settle things down a bit. Truth be told, she really didn't see anything wrong with Trixie's personality. She'd made worse messes of the shop herself, and Rarity forgave her after all. She can't be all bad. Remember what today is? Oh yeah, said Scootaloo, giving a wide grin. How could I forget? Asked Apple Bloom, smiling wide as well. Cutie Mark Crusaders camping trip with Rarity. Yay. Okay, sorry, I added that last part. Trixie was nearly knocked off her hooves by the massive yell of the trio of fillies, and dazed for a moment by the volume of it. She shook her head to get rid of the ringing in her ears. Now Trixie knows what Spike meant. Girls, said Rarity with a sad look, trying to approach this as carefully carefully as possible. I'm afraid we may have to cancel the camping trip. Aw, why? Yeah, what's going on, Miss Rarity? Yeah, sis, you promised. Sorry, I have to take a little breather here for a second. This is a lot of reading. Oh, but anyway, yeah, guys, I'm sorry I'm not doing so well today. Um, by the time this is even posted, the third one would be out, and I did this one literally right after chapter 3. So, but like I said at the very beginning of this, almost 55 minutes ago, um, that this is a long chapter, so please bear with me. Anyway, yeah, what's going on, Miss Rarity? Yes, sis, you promised. Rarity sighed miserably, trying not to look at the three hurt fillies looking up at her. Well, I was really relying on Trixie's help to finish everything in time so we can go, she said, not wanting to put the blame on the poor mare any more than the trio already had, and the sewing machine she was using burst into flames. And the machine she was using burst into flames, muttered Trixie, lowering her head in embarrassment. Rarity couldn't help feeling she looked scared. Yes, so I'm going to have to do everything myself, continued Rarity with a sad sigh. I'm afraid we're going to have to cancel the camping trip. The three fillies all looked down in disappointment. But sis, I'm sorry, Sweetie Belle, but I'm afraid there's nothing else I can do, replied Rarity, looking sadly at her sister, heart practically breaking at the sad look in Sweetie Belle's eyes. Scootaloo and Apple Bloom both gave Trixie a glare. Gee, thanks a lot for ruining our day, spat Scootaloo, bitterly glaring straight at Trixie. Yeah, you had to go and wreck our camping trip. You have any idea how long we've been waiting for this? Asked Apple Bloom, anger clear in her voice. Now, girls, you've got a clubhouse and I'm sure you can find plenty of things to do without bothering Trixie. It wasn't her fault. It was an accident, said Rarity in a stern tone. She noted Trixie seemed rather hurt by their words, something Rarity had never expected from her. Come on, girls, let's go, said Scootaloo with a growl, leading the way out of the shop, the other two following suit. Rarity sighed. I'm sorry about that, Trixie. I know it wasn't your fault, she said, giving Trixie a sympathetic look. Trixie looked up at Rarity. Trixie isn't sure if it was or not, Rarity, she muttered. Trixie will leave you to your work, she stated, heading out the store with her head low. Rarity shook her head. I hope the poor dear will be all right, she said, looking around her ruined shop, which she'd have to fix up quickly as possible to be able to help Applejack in time. She went over to the ruined dress. Now, which dress was this? She asked, levitating the burned but still legible tag. Checker Monarch. Oh no, she's coming to pick it up today. I mustn't be late on this one. She won't tolerate tardiness on my part, she exclaimed, getting to work on a replacement dress before she'd even have finished the sentence. I guess I'll just go back to the library and wait for twilight, muttered Trixie, trotting along with her head low. Why do I feel so rotten? She asked, thinking about it long and hard. This was an accident. I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault. Why should I feel so guilty? She asked lowly, her mind completely and utterly conflicted. I have publicly humiliated dozens upon dozens of ponies all over Equestria from Manhattan to right here in Ponyville, without any remorse. So why is it now that I feel like a complete and utter heel? She asked, letting her long hair almost touch the ground. And why did seeing I ruin those fillies' play date scare me? She asked, remembering the chill that had gone down her spine at that point. Why did she manage to frighten herself doing that, but none of the other things she'd done before had ever registered that way? Is it because Twilight and Rary are so kind to me? She asked, thinking over the two mares who had declared her their friend. But that doesn't explain why I was scared when I found out I ruined those fillies' camping trip with Rarity. Seeing her main Seeing her name makes sense, but or maybe that's exactly why it scared me. She then heard voices coming from nearby. Huh? She asked, poking her head back through a nearby bush. Well, this is just great. I told you that Trixie was no good, said Scootaloo, her and the other Crusaders in a clearing. Yeah, you were right, I guess, replied Applebloom, kicking a rock. I was really looking forward to that trip, too. Wait, Rarity said it was an accident, said Sweetie Belle, trying to be the voice of reason, if at all possible. We shouldn't be mad at her for a mistake, should we? Oh, wake up, Sweetie Belle, said Scootaloo, as if Sweetie was crazy. Trixie is no good. She probably did it on purpose. How do you know? Said Sweetie Belle with a raised eyebrow. "'Cause Rainbow Dash told me," replied Scootaloo, proudly. "She told me Trixie's got the others fooled, but not her. Besides, Sweetie Belle, ain't you sore with her for hurting your sis?" asked Apple Bloom, confused clear in her voice. Sweetie Belle looked a little confused. "Well, yeah, I guess, but what are you going to do now?" she asked, trying to change the subject before they went too far down the path. "Ooh, excuse me." "Simple," said Scootaloo, smirking rather mischievously. "Rainbow Dash showed me this really neat spot. Let's just go camping on our own." "Yeah, that's a great idea," replied Apple Bloom, giving a smile. Sweetie Belle thought about it for a second and nodded. It sounded like a decent idea to her. "Yeah, let's do it." "Where's the spot?" "In the Everfree Forest." "The Everfree Forest?" exclaimed Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom at the same time. Scootaloo, Scootaloo. Yeah, that was easy for me to say. Scootaloo, that forest is full of all kinds of monsters, said Apple Bloom, giving a shiver with her memory of past adventures in there. What makes you think camping there is a good idea? Oh, don't be scared, Rainbow Dash showed me the trail. I know how to get us there easy, said Scootaloo in a confident tone, reminiscent of the rainbow-haired herself. Rainbow-haired mare herself. What's wrong, you two chicken? No, I ain't a chicken, replied Apple Bloom, glaring. No pony called an Apple family pony a coward. Sweetie Belle looked apprehensive, once more trying to think of with common sense. You're sure you know the way? Scootaloo nodded. Yeah, like the back of my hoof. And every pony knows the monsters in the Everfree Forest don't come out until after dark. Why do you think Twilight always goes to visit Sakura during the day? I guess that makes sense. A good bit of sense, said Apple Bloom, still thinking about it. All right, let's go. Sweetie Belle hesitated a moment before nodding. Sure, I guess it'll be all right, but we don't stay after dark, okay? Sure, we'll be out before dark. Promise, said Scootaloo, smiling. The two others nodded. Cutie Mark Crusaders camping trip! Yay! The trio gleefully trotted off on their way. We're almost done with this chapter, guys. So don't worry. Taking a small break. Uh, uh. Anyway, sorry about that pause, guys. I had to fix something real quick. Trixie fell backwards outside the bush as the filly screamed. Still unseen by the trio, ears once again ringing. "They're going into the Everfree Forest?" she asked aloud, thinking about it with dread. She gave a shiver, remembering one specific creature there more than anything else. She then shook it off as best she could. "Oh well, I'm sure everything will be fine. They know the way. What's the worst that could happen?" she asked aloud, trying to settle herself if at all possible. She then resumed her path towards the library. "They're just three fillies going camping in a forest. They're just going camping, that's all. Alone, in a dark, unnatural, deadly, monster-infested forest," she muttered to herself, getting more and more apprehensive with each word, dreading building in her heart. Trixie gave a sigh and turned around, heading after the trio. "Of all the days for me to start actually caring about somebody else's well-being," she muttered, following the girls toward the Everfree Forest. Alright, that was chapter 4. Wow, that really was a long chapter. And I'm so sorry, guys. I know you're probably not even finishing this I'm probably gonna put this into 3 or 4 parts, or probably have or hadn't yet. I don't know. But yeah, just a little over an hour to read this chapter, and boy, that really was a long chapter. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I really hope you guys actually stayed all the way through. Please comment down below on at least this one, on the last part, if not, if I hadn't put it all in one. But please comment down below on what you guys think, on how my reactions were. Please, no negative comments. Anyway, 13 Black Dragon out, and you guys have a wonderful evening.